Okay, last session I started you the introduction to the arrays. So let's continue the same thing. Let's reintroduce the concept of the arrays. Okay, now we have something what you call the data types. What do you mean by data type means the kind of data that you're going to store into the variables is what you call the data type. Remember, in your JavaScript, the data types are fixed for me. I mean, it depends upon the data what you're going to store into the variable. Based on that, the data type is going to be defined for me. So basically, the data types can be defined as primitive data types or what you call the reference values. You can have it. Now, when you say that the primitive, there is a mean primitive means the basic data type. So when you say the basic data types, so like we have the data types like string, number, boolean, null, and we have the undefined. So what is this undefined means? Undefined is the one which you're telling that the variable value is not stored there or it's not being defined there. Just variable is being declared, but without any value there. So that is what you call a undefined for us. Now remember in your JavaScript, null is also one data type provided that you're going to use the small n you're going to use. It's all the small letters. It's a case sensitive for us. You have to write it as only null there. Okay. Now, when you talk about the Boolean values, you can have the true or false values can be made use of. The true and false value will be acting as a Boolean values for us. Okay. Now, remember, when you talk about these primitive data types, these primitive data types, they don't have the properties or the methods, they don't have it. So what do you mean by these properties and methods? Like, for example, the last class, I was just telling you about the array. So when you talk about the array, so where we said that for an array, when once I'm declaring an array, for the array, we have a properties available, what you call length property is going to be there. And that length property can be used to find out the number of elements that are present for me in an array. So that's what we said there. Now, remember, that is what we are talking about, the derived data types or reference data types. Like for example, array is acting as a reference data type for me. So these reference data types will have their own properties will be there and they will have their own methods will be there. Like when you talk about the properties, we use a property called length property, we use it, right? Like that. And then, okay, now here, when you talk about your data types, now as you said that the primitive data types or whatever the data type that you're going to have it, so those are going to be defined based upon the value that is going to be present for me in my variable. So what value is going to be present based on that, what will happen automatically, the data type is going to be defined for us in our JavaScript for us. Now you can also use their operator called type of. This can be used to determine what is the type of the data type that you're going to have it. So the type of can be used, right? Okay, now last time we discussed about the array type. So array is what, it's a collection of values or it is a set of values for me. Whenever I want to have some set of values to be stored, okay, then we are going to use what you call the arrays we are going to use. I was telling you a simple example. Let us say that you want to find out, you want to store the marks in 6 subjects for a student. What you can do, one simple method is you can have 6 variables can be used, m1, m2, m3, m4, m6. These 6 variables can be used for storing the six different different subject marks to be stored. Or the alternate what I can do is I can have one variable can be used where in one variable I can accommodate 6 values into that. Now when I want to store 6 values into that one, then what we do is we'll be using the index position. So what you call the index position, that is I'll be using it as 0, 1, 2, 3, indicating that in which element you're going to store the values you're going to define there. So there what happens here, so the arrays, you can define them arrays and you can access the elements of the array, or what you call the data in the array can be accessed by using their index position. So that's why sometimes arrays are also called the indexed variables, or they're also called the variable with the subscript, they're also called. Now remember, you can have the array, the length of the array can be increased or decreased by using the property called the length, that also can be done. As well as you can you can keep on adding the new values. Like yesterday we have seen one function called push method can be made use of to add a new value onto the end of the array. We have the method called pop is going to be there for removing the values from the end of the array, right? We have other methods are also there. So I'm not just talking about them. I'm just giving you the basic introduction to the arrays type. So you can just always look into the other different types of the arrays, how we are going to declare the arrays and all that. Now remember, when you talk about the arrays need not be the same values need not be stored. For example, when I'm talking about the 6 subject marks, not necessarily that I'm storing all the 6 subject marks at once. Okay, only one data type is not required for me. One data type is not required for me. So what I can do is I can have multiple data types can be used. So as an example here, I'm going to have one value is good, one number is there, a data, one string is there. So like the different set of values can be stored for us in the array for us. Not necessarily that array should be containing the data of the similar data type. I can have the data of different data types can be used for us. If you want to define an empty array, I just here we are going to use the new keyword. You're going to use it, and then you're going to use the keyword what you call array. You're going to use it when you want to define the array. So for example, let us say that I want to have an array called colors. So with the dummy, okay, without any values into that, then simply I'll say where colors is equal to new array. I'll be writing it. If I want to have the initial length to be of 20 values there, then I will be writing array of 20 there. So that is going to define the array with 20 values. All the 20 values will be, it will be allowing you to have the 20 values, but all the values will be of, no values will not be there for that. What you call the dummy, it is going to create an memory locations for storing 20 values for us. What will be the value for us? It will be the undefined values will be there in that. Okay. If you want to store an array with 3 values, you want to store it. What you can do is you can just say some variable, it's equal to new array of 3 values, you can define it. Or so you want to have the multiple data types, you want to have it. Here is one example which talks about the multiple data types you can assign there. Okay. There is another way of declaration of the arrays. So if I want to have the array to be declared, what you can do is you can have the array name is equal to open the box bracket and then put all the values into the box bracket. Okay, separated with each value is going to be separated with the comma there. That's how you can have it. If you want to have an empty array, so you can just use the name, some array name, or what you call the variable name is equal to box. If you use it, that's going to create the empty array, right? Now here, so you can also create the array. Like in the previous example, we just showed you that array of, and then I gave all the values. So instead of using the array keyword, you can also do it without using the array. So then simply what you can do, stu is equal to new array of, you can use it like in the previous screen. So in the previous screen, I'm writing new array of, either you can write like this, or you can have this method of declaration can be done. So it's all your wish. No, but remember, it is advised not to use this kind of declaration, not to use. Okay, it's advised not to use this kind of declaration. So why? Because I'm just putting a comma there at the end, indicating what, how many values it has to be defined. Okay, it's better not to use that kind of declaration. It's not, it's advised not to use this kind of declaration. Now, so once I'm going to have my array is going to be there. So how I'm going to access the elements of my array is, so we are going to use this 0, you are going to use it, what you call the index position you are going to use to access the elements of the array. So whenever you want to access the elements of the array, you can use this index position, or you can use a subscript value can be used. Remember, when you talk about the subscript or the index, it is going to be a 0 based index. That means the starting index value is going to be 0. So where if you talk about this, the red value is going to be accessed using the 0 index, blue is going to be accessed using the 1 index, and then green is going to be accessed using the index position 2 there. Now, you can also have what you can change the values. For example, let's say this value, what is there, blue is there. I want to change to black there. Okay, sorry. The green I want to change because, sorry, I'm using the index position 2 here. No, I'm using now index position 2 is equal to black if I'm writing. Then what will happen? It will change the value what is there for me in my third index position, that is green. It will be changing to black. Now, in case if I'm going to use a new index position and then I'm assigning a value into this one, then it is automatically going to add the new item is going to be added there onto my array for us. Okay. So I was just telling you about the properties of the arrays, like length property we are having it, where the length property will help me to know the length of the array for me. So how many elements are there in my array? If I want to find out, then I'm going to use the length property. Right.
Now, remember, arrays are also called the reference data types. Why they are called the reference? They have some properties are going to be there, like length property is going to be there, right? So we have the methods and everything are going to be there for us. Okay, some of the examples I've taken. So where I'm going to tell what is the length of my array. Okay, how many, what are the values that I want to have it. So here I'm changing the length of my array to 10, and then I'm trying to access the element which is there at the 7th position, that is the index position 6. If I'm using, it's going to return me undefined, like that. Okay, yesterday we have seen these examples, you have seen it. Then here also I have a few more examples are there. So initial the length is going to be 3 for me. I can change the in length. Okay, and then you can find out the values are going to be there. Now remember, we have the loops can be made use of, like what we have the normal loop, we can make the normal loop like for loop what you have seen yesterday. So that loop can be made use of to access the elements of my array. Or we have one version of loop which we call it for each loop, we call it as. So we have a kind of loop, what you call for each loop. So what is this for each loop means? This for each loop, what it does is it's going to get me the elements of the array are going to be accessed at for each iteration, that is for the each repetition, it fetches one value from my array for us. Okay, so it is going to fetch one value from the array, it's going to be fetched, and it is going to return me. We'll take one example. So I'll just go to Visual Studio. Yeah, so here I'll have the script there. I'm writing my script. Now, first initially I would like to have an array, I want to have it. So then I'll use somewhere keyword where I'm going to use it for declaration of the array. We know that using that where variable is, where keyword is always optional for us, no issues in that. So what I'm doing is CLR, I'm taking a variable is equal to box bracket. Then I'm opening double quotes. I'm going to put some names of the colors. Let's say I'm going to use blue, black, okay, orange, some names of the colors. Okay, let us say in addition to this, we'll also add numbers also. Some numbers also I will add. Something like this I have added. Now I want to get the values from my array. So one simple method that we have seen yesterday. So how to access the data of my array. Then I'll take a variable called n, whose value index position starts with 0 for me. So where it is less than, so CLR dot length I'm using. So I have used a variable called CLR for storing the values. I'll say CLR dot length semicolon n plus plus I'm writing. Now we have seen this normal loop you have seen. I'll just show you once again. So I'm writing document object dot write. Okay, then so I want to print the values one after the another value I want to print it. Then I'm using the BR tag for adding the new line character there. Then I want to get the value CLR of n I'm using it. So when I'm using this one, so what happens? It's going to print me all the values. Let's see the output. We'll discuss more on this. Saved it. So I'm going to the browser. I'm asking to display the file now. So the file name is C2. Right now you see that it's going to print me these values. This is how the values are going to be printed for us. Right. So this is the normal loop what you have seen yesterday. I think, yeah, this is the normal loop we have seen yesterday. Now we'll talk about the for each loop we'll talk about. So for each loop we'll talk about. Okay. So now instead of using this method, so what we can do is we can have slightly different method. If you look into the syntax of this one, the syntax is for x variable of numbers I'm writing it. That means, so when I'm writing this variable number, so what happens? It will try to fetch one value from my list. That is first value, second value, third value. It's going to take the values and it's going to return me. Let us see the example. So what I'm doing, so for loop, I'm taking C variable of CLR, I'm writing it. Okay, C of CLR of I'm writing. Now here, so I'll print the value of C now here. I'll just save this. Now let's go to the browser and then refresh it. Now you see that same values are going to be printed for you. I'll save this. So I'm just trying to refresh. You're going to get the same values. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll add another value for this one. Okay. I'm adding one more value there. I'll save this. Now you can see now it's going to print me the purple also is printed for me, right? So what I'm doing is, let us analyze this code again. So what I have done, I have declared an array here, right, where there are some set of values are going to be there for me for my array. Now, when you talk about this one, let me use, okay. Now here, the array is declared for me here, right? Now, I'm starting a loop here. So when I'm starting my loop, the first time what will happen, it will get the value blue, and for the first iteration, that is for the first repetition, it gets a value blue, and it's going to be stored into this variable called C. Now here I'm trying to print the value there. So that is what you see now, the first value is going to be blue for me. That is for the first iteration. After this iteration is going to be done, again the loop is going to be repeated. So when for the second time when the loop is getting repeated for me, so what will happen? It will fetch the next value from the collection. So what is that collection? It's my array. Array is my collection, or it's a set of values. From a second, when I'm repeating for the second time, so what will happen here is, so it is going to get the, now that is for the second iteration. Okay, when you're repeating for the second time, so what will happen now, it is going to get me the value black, it is going to get, and that value is going to be stored into this variable called C. And when I'm printing this value C here, you see that it's going to give me, so black is going to be printed for me. Again, let us say after printing it, again you're repeating for the second, for the third iteration you're repeating, then what will happen, it will get me the next value it's going to return for me. So this value is going to be stored into this variable called C. And then when I print it here, you see the third value is going to be getting for me for the next iteration. So like that for each iteration, so for each iteration, it's going to get me one value at a time, it's going to get for me. So what happened? Once I finish, all my iterations are going to be finished. You'll see that, okay, for each iteration, one value at a time, they're going to be retrieved, and then it's going to print for me. So that is what for each loop, we call this, for each version loop it is called. So where we are telling that to read the values, each one value at a time for me there. Okay, so like this. Understood there? So what I'm doing it here. Okay, this is the for each loop for us. Now what I do is I'll just copy this code so that we can use them as an so that I can share the code. Whatever the code I'm writing, I'll share it with you. Okay. Right. Now we have one more loop is there. C in loop is going to be there for me. For C in loop. So first one is off loop we took, and then one more is having in loop. Now let us see how they are going to be different for me. Then we'll discuss more on that. I'll just save this. Okay, and then I'll refresh. Now, if when I'm refreshing it, now you see that it is not going to give me what the values like blue, black, these values it's not going to give me. Instead, what it's going to give me, it is going to give me the index value there. So that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, it is going to give me the index, right? Now here, it is going to return me the index like 0, 1, 2, 3, like this index it's going to give me. Understood what I'm telling? So it is going to give me the index position it's going to give me. So once it is going to give me the index now, then how do I get the data from this? The first one I want to get it. So what I need to do, I'll specify the index. That is, I use the variable and then open the box bracket and you define the index. And then give the index as an argument for that. It takes a value and it returns me. I just saved it and then I'll refresh it. Now you see that it's going to get me the values there. Right. So here what we are doing, we are using the variable followed with the index position so that it gets me. Now let us understand the differences. When I'm using the for loop off, when I'm using it, so it is not going to give me what index is not going to give me. So what it has done, it has given me the element value it is going to give me. Okay, that is what called the data value. So that is the data it is going to give me. But whereas when I'm using this in loop and I'm using, it is going to give me index it is going to return. Okay, it's going to give me the element index it is going to give me. So whereas when I'm going to use the off loop, when I'm using it, it's going to give me the element value. It's going to give me instead of giving the index position for me, right? This how I'm printing this one like this. So I'm just trying to print C value. Okay, like this. Understood? So that's how the difference comes for me between those two values. I just copy this for your reference purpose so that we can have a look at the things at a later stage. So you understood there how it's going to work for me. The C, an off loop, one is an off version, other one is in version. When I'm using in, it is going to retrieve me the index position is going to give. When I'm using off, then what's going to give me the element values is going to give me, or what you call the data it's going to give me for me. That's how they are different for me when you talk about the for in and for off. So both the loops are available for us. Okay. Yeah, so I've taken the examples of the for x, for x in and for x off, both I have taken values. Right. Now, when you want to know what is the instance, what is the type of my variable, you can also use what array dot is array, you can make use of it. That will tell me that it's an array type or not, that it returns me the true or false values. Sorry. And when I want to have the conversion of values from one data type to another, you can call the .toString, you can call it, or you can also use the value of. When I'm going to use the value of, it's going to return me all the values from my array, right? Okay, or you can just simply say the array name. It's also going to return me the elements that are there in my array. They're going to return it for me, right? So I just told you about the functions. One is called the push, another one is pop. I said we have other functions are also there, like the functions like shift. We are having it on unshift. So difference between the shift and unshift is in case of the shift and unshift. So they'll be working as what you call queue concept. So that means they'll be adding and removing the elements at the beginning of the array. Whereas when I'm using the push and pop and I'm using it, then they're going to add the elements at the end they're going to add. That means they work similar to the concept of a stack. Now remember, in case of a stack, we say that the addition and deletion will be doing on the top. Okay, that is at the end, we call it as. Either you call it at the top or you call it at the end. So that is what in case of your stack for me. The stack is push and pop. They are going to act as a stack like thing. So when I talk about the shift and unshift, so this shift method and unshift method, they'll be acting as queues. That means they'll be adding the elements at the beginning of the array, right? That's what the differences we have, the shift and unshift. Shift is at the beginning. So push is at the end of the array, like that. Okay. So we can also have what in case if I'm going to have the numbers are going to be there and all that. So when I want to sort the numbers, now remember the most important thing when you talk about the sorting of the numbers, let us take one example and we'll discuss the more on that. I'll take some numbers I will take. So let us see what is going to happen for me when I'm going to take my numbers. Okay, I'm taking some numbers I'm taking. So I'm taking some set of numbers. I'm going to take it so that we can understand how things are going to be, how the sorting is going to be done. So only to understand the sorting concept, we are going to take these numbers. Okay. Now I just wanted to print the values I want to print. So for that, I'll use the for off loop. I'm taking it. It prints me all the values for me right there. Then after that, I want to arrange the data that's there for me in my array. So I'll call this simple sort method, I'll call it. It's going to do this sorting for me. So after that, I want to print the values from my array. So I'll just copy this same code. I'll just paste it here. So I'll just give the output also. I'll say it's my document dot write. It is sorted data I'm writing. It is my sorted data. I'm using one more loop for the above loop. I'll just print the unsorted data. I'll print the message. So here, this is unsorted data for me. It's my unsorted data for me, right? Sorted data and unsorted. Okay, let us say it's a natural sorted data. We are not doing any extra activity there. I'm just saving this. Okay, I'll go to my browser. I'll refresh it. Okay, I'll refresh my page. Refresh. Now you can see unsorted data. It's going to give me the natural values 12 what we have stored in the array. It's going to print me. When I'm going to do the sorting, when I'm going to do it, natural sorting, I'm trying to do it, then what happens? You see that the kind of sorting it is going to do is not what we wanted, because it's a numbers we are going to use it. When you talk about the numbers, it is not considering them as numbers. Instead, what it is doing, it is considering them as strings, and then it's going to do the sorting format. So what happens is the number starting with 1 is going to print me first, 2 is next, 3, 4, like that. It's going to do the natural sorted order it's going to take. That's what we call it as it is going to take the string concept, it's going to do it, and it's going to do the sorting for me. Now, if I don't want to follow this kind of sorting, I don't want to do it, then what I can do is I can have slightly different method can be made use of. What we do is we define a function, some name of the function you can use it, and we can have the sorting can be done. So how we are going to do the sorting of these numbers? So let us see this. So I'll have a function, right? I'll try to use the same function. Okay, you can use any name, you can use it as a part of it. Name can be anything. So let us say that, okay, I'll use the name called arrange, right? It's going to take the two arguments are going to be there. V1 and V2 are going to be there. Two arguments, two numbers is going to take. And then I'll write the I'll check the comparison I'm making. If V1 is going to be greater than V2. So it just is what, this is what we are doing it here. See, if V1 is going to be greater than V2, we want to return the value 1 there. Otherwise, we want to return the value -1. So if V1 is greater than V2, so return the value 1 there. Else, if I check the condition, else if V1, okay, V2 greater than V2, V1, sorry. So in case that, then I'll ask you to return -1 I'm writing. So else for all the other cases, it's going to return me 0. Right. So this is what I'm using the function defining there. For all the other cases, I'm returning 0. If V1 is greater than V2, I'm using 1 there. So if V1 is less than V2, so I'm going to use -1. Right. So that's it, fine, save it. But remember, when I'm going to call the sort function, here name of the function is, we are given arrange. Okay, that's what we are saying, that the function we are going to give it. So we'll be using the function arrange. I'm calling that as an argument. So internally what will happen, automatically it's going to take two values and then it's going to do the sorting form. Okay. So this sorting, I will do it. One more loop I will take. Okay, I'll just call this. Now here I'm not doing anything. This is my natural sort. Now this is numerical sort it is. So I'm going to have the numerical sort there, right? I'll save it. Now I'll just refresh. Now you see that the one is unsorted data. The second is natural sorted data. And now here I'm going to use the numerical sorted. What, it's not doing anything. 1 second, somewhere you did a mistake. V1, V2, arrange of this. What we have copied, something wrong we did. V1 is less than V2. Okay, let me use the same options. Return -1. Oh, I think we did mistake here. So V1 greater than v2. So I'm asking to return 1. So for all the cases, I'm returning. There, sorry, we did a mistake there while we typed. I did a mistake there. Okay, let's see this. So this is my unsorted data. This is my natural sorted. Now it's going to be the numerical sorting. So it's going to have what? 1, 2, 3. Now you see that it's going to do the proper sorting. It's going to do it, right? So what it's going to do, it's going to take two values, going to take, and it's going to do the comparison. So if the value is going to be less, it's going to give me the values are going to be. So this is going to be my ascending order. If you want to get the descending order, right, then the function need to be changed. Little bit function has to be changed. So here you'll be using, so greater than symbol you'll be using it. Then so it's going to do the descending order. It's going to do it for me like that. So I'll do one thing. I'll just copy this code for you. I'll just put it over here so that we can share this one. Right. So this is the natural sorting. Either you want to have the natural sorted order or you want to have the sorted order. It's going to be in the form of numbers. So when you want to use them as numbers, then it's always better is you use this method. Okay, you define your function and then get the things done. Now, if you want to get the values to be sorted in the reverse order, then you can also use reverse can be used for calling the reverse order. The ascending order, it's going to be simple sort. You're going to use it. Descending order, so you can use reverse function. Now remember the same thing you can also apply it for your, sorry, one second. Okay, so you can apply it for your what do you call the strings also you can apply it. We also have the concept of slicing and dicing can be done. Slicing means cutting down. What are the number of values are there that I'm going to cut down? It's what you call slicing, we call it as. Okay, you just try out. There are many functions are there which are available for us with the arrays. Try out those functions, you try it out. Okay, I'll do one thing. So today I will have a so we'll stop the session today now. So right, the next session what we do is we talk about the objects, right?